Welcome back to the 2015 World's Quarterfinals, where Fnatic currently leads the series 1-0. Because of a game-altering bug, the teams have accepted a full remake with new picks and bans. And while the teams load up on the stage, let's look at the draft from the last game and see how things could change in just a few moments. We did a great job talking about everything that could have happened with those team comps. There's going to be new ones coming through, gentlemen. So here we go. With all of this information in mind, the teams obviously stay on the same sides. What do we expect to see change?
Azir?
Azir?
Azir on EDG side, maybe. But then again, like Spawn, the thing you've been talking about, like the LPL's cockiness, I can still see that come into play.
I think the real question is which of these teams felt like they were in the winning position when the game was left, right? Because if I'm EDG and I say, look, we were on track to make the 5 Dragons, no problem, and win this game, and Fnatic is going to leave it open again, maybe they just go for the same comp.
I'd be a little scared if I was Fnatic saying if we do exactly the same thing, they might do something else besides the Kassadin and kind of round out the wave clear of the composition. But they were shoving up waves, and it showed that when they first picked the Mordekaiser and you first picked Gangplank, they're just going to play Fiora into it, and they're going to have an okay time. So if I'm Fnatic, I might throw things off there and ban those 2 champions again.
That is a matchup that if I'm Fnatic, I look at and I'm like, how did we actually plan to deal with this late game? Because we kind of need Gangplank in the comp to help the kite back, and Fiora is never going to join. And one thing that we didn't really hit on is the kite back out of EDG with Rylai's Crystal Scepter wasn't actually that horrible. It's really hard to catch Gangplank Mordekaiser when they start running, Kassadin and Mordekaiser when they start running away. And Fiora is just going to split push. And we saw yesterday, even without armor items, this champion turret dives the absolute heck out of everyone.
You know, something that we did discuss coming out of Champion Select of the last game, or the remade game, was the fact that Fnatic curiously still banned Tahm Kench and Lulu while leaving the Mordekaiser GP up. If you're red side and you're going to get 2 picks following the first, why not leave a second large priority pickup with the knowledge that you're going to get 2? Yeah. You're either going to get like GP Lulu or Mord Lulu, which are both great.
Would be crazy. You run into something that enables him to get in. You get so much movement speed from the Whimsy and all that, so that help picks and all that, and just giving him so much more and enabling the Mordekaiser. That would just be, if they didn't first pick Mord, you'd have a really good core on your hands.
So there's a comp that the EDG ran a lot, which is Korra actually plays top Lulu. Jinx was undefeated. Def was undefeated on Jinx apart from 1 game against QG, and Azir is really good at shutting that comp down. So if you do that, I actually think they nearly first pick Lulu and run the Jinx Lulu comp that we've seen so much success with right now. Because
you run Jinx Lulu into GP Mord, though?
Into GP Mord, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Heck yeah. How the heck do they get on top of it with an Azir?
I feel
I would do that.
Like there's so many like question marks because like I was thinking about Lulu, would that put Spawn on Azir? And there's so many questions like if they ban Fiora, maybe the other side will first pick Gangplank. If they Tahm Kench, like Fnatic has been banning it a lot. I remember that Fnatic played it in the finals against Origin, so we know that Yelsa can play it. Surprising that they still ban it. But there are so many question marks that get raised if you change up the bans.
Yeah,
like
100%.
Like first thought that came to mind, do you ban Fiora? But no, they will just first pick GP. It's so difficult.
I think in my head that Tahm Kench would be the most reasonable one to leave up, and you take, because you're happy to eat up your vein as soon as Mord goes on him, keep whatever carry the Mord is looking to go for safe. That to me seems the most reasonable. A quick note, just for everybody at home, Gragas will remain enabled. There was a discussion about whether or not he should be disabled. Will remain enabled. So I expect that he'll remain regardless of the bug, he'll remain in that kind of power trinity of junglers.
Special circumstance to create what happened and make sure that the players are informed and it doesn't happen again.
Yeah,
Avoid
extraordinarily rare.
Like if it was disabled, it would create a hilarious situation because we're back in the old meta where Gragas and Rek'Sai is like on both sides, top tier, of course.
Because Elise has always been.
But then if Gragas would be out of it, then Rek'Sai would be permabanned, and we would see all these fun junglers: Rengar, Lee Sin,
yeah, Olaf.
Well, we have, that is something I actually want to come back to because we talked about the possibility of pinching junglers with Reignover. Because there are so many champions that seem to be priority bans as of right now, he is getting a lot of leeway in the junglers he's allowed to play. But EDG on blue side, we always talk about blue side having more leniency with their bans. Is this not another approach they can take?
I actually think this was like a really cool game for Reignover as an individual player because he got to show that his Gragas isn't like horrible, and now all of a sudden that strategy becomes harder to execute on because like in a 1v1 jungle matchup, right, Clearlove is very, very well known for being able to take the Rek'Sai Gragas matchup on both ends of it and out-teamfight the other jungler. That is like what he made a name for. So, and we saw it at MSI a lot. He was a very good team fighting jungler, but he also has a Lee Sin.
Do you disagree?
I love how you said he showed this Gragas wasn't horrible. He's got to do nothing that game. 0-0-0.
Yeah.
He didn't show that it was good.
Just right, because if he was
horrible.
good, he'd be
He would've
10-0,
fed.
Irene.
Then again,
Come on.
It's like Fnatic's
But he controlled Vision well and he didn't get invaded. Like, that's really all
It's
you
like-
need to do at the start of the game.
It's like surviving is doing something good for Fnatic's side. If they survive with this team composition, they're doing good.
Yeah.
They should be applauded for that. You know?
I want to say, that is a team comp thing. I'm not making the generalization that is how every Gragas game should be played, but in what should be an accelerated game for EDG, Gragas being able to keep up wards, keep the lane safe, and not give up the mid lane turret is 100% doing Gragas' job in that game.
Yeah, I think so much of this game is going to be dictated in that first 10 seconds of pick ban where we see the bans.
Yeah.
Which is that, is Fnatic going to roll the dice again and say, you can have your pick of the GP Mord, and that'll shape the entirety of the pick ban phase. Let's pretend that those are both banned out this time as opposed to left open, and we see what is considered more of a traditional pick ban as of yet in the meta for this tournament. Then where do the teams go?
It depends on what isn't banned out of Lulu, Kalista, Tahm Kench. Because if Lulu's left up, you snatch that up for EDG and you run it with a centric comp around Deft. 100% I think that's what you do. If Kalista's up, you can probably take that rather early as well. See how you fare with it. I know that there are different things that Deft likes to play, but giving him a self-sufficient AD carry like that could be a way to go. And then Tahm Kench just is Tahm Kench, man. Like, that guy, as soon as he's unbenched, I want to see him.
Deficio says he's the most OP champion in the game.
I honestly think he is as well. I agree with Deficio.
I think you have a good point.
Yep.
Like with that in mind, with what you just said, I really doubt that Fnatic is going to change the red side strategy. I think this trade is very beneficial for them simply because they're so afraid of the Tamkens, the Kalista, as you said.
I also think that this matchup, because we've seen two very different games, is coming down a lot to coaching and how much Aaron and Daylor have prepared, because Aaron is like, once again, the MSI strategy game 5, but Daylor is also a fantastic coach, and his pick ban phase so far has been like incredibly sound. So I want to know if they change it up. I also want to know whether Pawn is willing to pick Veigar into these control majors, because if he is and they are able to run the Veigar Jinx, like, I know that it was exposed, but I think that is once again another curveball that you can throw at this team. How do you deal with Siege? You've like done with the poke, and now we've run this all melee. Now we'll go to Siege and just continue to throw game plans out there.
I definitely agree. I think that Tahm Kench right up here, and then Veigar's like right under him, just barely under him in terms of best champions in the game at the moment. But yeah, one of the reasons we are having so much time here on the desk before the game is because we're giving the coaches that prep time, and they're definitely using it right now because we haven't gone into game, right?
It's not just because we want to talk. Like, we promise.
They are strategizing right now, thinking about it, because it is a huge conundrum here. You're sitting here thinking, do we leave it the same? What if they switch it up on us? And both teams are doing that, right? You're not having an agreement of what's happening over again, because if you think, because nobody got a big feel for if the other person was really confident in their comp or if they're going to change it up. So it's a huge mind game going on.
It was a really tentative game in general. I want to return to something that we brought up at the beginning of the day, which is that Fnatic is a relatively top lane focused team. We usually see a lot of resources pumped into Huni and his lane EDG, generally favoring more of the bottom side of the map. But if we recall game 1, the numerous dives over onto Huni and the inability, and we see him on the screen now, for Reignover to get up there and help him until about 17 minutes into the game when they made the realization that they could. That matchup specifically here when he was playing GP as well against the Fiora, getting pushed in consistently, all of a sudden this top lane matchup seems more tilted in EGZ's favor.
Well, one thing I want to point out, and we spoke about it a lot, in our opinion, Fiora is like S-tier top lane right now.
Yeah.
And kind of like Elise, if you bring any other jungler to Fiora's lane and you get the 2v2, that is a one skirmish just because of Fiora's skirmishing potential. She gets to choose, unlike a lot of champions, every 3 seconds whether she wants to go in or out. Like, I just cannot stress how important that is to decision-making process. And to Reignover, of his credit, he was there every single time they wanted to start the gank in game 1. He was just like that half a second, kind of like yesterday, that half a second too late. And the Fiora just wins out in the 1v1 matchup.
4 minutes to champion select. Just want to throw that in there. That's the ETA as of right now. Back into the matter.
It's also like the fact that I feel like Clearlove and Koro are actually working together. Like with Amazing J, there was very low amount of teamwork. Clearlove, it felt almost in the way like, oh shit, I cannot gank top. I just gank bottom, level 2 gank, do some crazy stuff. It feels like in the early game they had a plan. There was cohesion and they worked together.
Yeah, and just looking at the statistics that they had, everybody on EDG's team had 77% or higher in kill participation, except for Amazing J, who had 50%. So they were basically leaving Amazing J out to dry. And if you look at it on the flip side, everybody on the side of Fnatic has less than 70%, so they're very skirmish-focused, but we're seeing more team fight out of them.
Yeah, one thing I do want to point out is that Amazing J is a split pusher and Korra is the captain. So when you have the shot caller and captain in jungle and top lane, and like it's such an important map, you can nearly guarantee that he's going to be like, you need to help me against Huni because Huni's still a class act and like one bad performance isn't going to keep the guy down. And you even saw that one bad 10 minutes of the game didn't keep him down for the next 20 minutes of the game even. But yeah, once again, that's just credit to being able to swap things up on the fly, going from a split pushing top laner to a top laner that needs help and being able to pivot on that.
Yeah, and one complaint that EDG was having was that they were not communicating during the group stages. And when they threw Koro back in, their comms cleaned up. Their captain was back. He was facilitating the conversation. And as a jungler myself, that's what you need. You need information, even if it's just he used his Q, he used his E, he used his dash. What is my window of timing? Where are the wards? Communicate with me. And when somebody's giving me a ton of communication and information, I'm going to go to that lane because I know the opportunities that are being presented there. And I feel like that's what's going on between Koro and Clearlove.
Yeah, we had some questions about, how Koro would mix back into the team after being away for some time. But also, too, statistically, interestingly enough, in the group stages, Fiora wasn't banned a single time against EDG and yet wasn't picked a single time against Amazing J. So that's just another thing that Koro has brought to the team here in the bracket stages is just the ability to pick Fiora and play it pretty well.
Well, it's actually funny because you have Dyrus to blame for that because rumor has it that EDG was scrimming TSM and Amazing J picked Fiora and Dyrus picked Darius and like trash can the guy, like to the point that he will never pick Fiora in a competitive game. And Amazing J actually credited him in one of his interviews when he picked the Darius into the Fiora matchup because he was like, I used to think it was a losing matchup, and then Darius made me a believer with how badly that lane turned against me. So that's probably why he wasn't prioritizing it because he didn't want it to happen again.
I think it's strange throughout the tournament that we have seen so little Fiora.
Fiora, what the heck?
Because for us, every time we've seen a Fiora, we're like, oh my goodness, this is so broken. She's jumping around, healing, hitting vitals, doing stuff. And finally, a team is putting focus on it because, as you said, in these skirmishes is so strong. What is a bad matchup for Fiora? Nothing. There's nothing that Fiora is bad against, I can imagine.
You definitely have to put in a lot of time on Fiora, though. Her mechanics are very similar to Riven's in terms of auto-canceling, using your Hydra at the right time, and having those windows. Because you can do things like Q, input buffer, and auto-attack, get your E auto-attack, reset Ravenous Hydra, and then another E. There's all these different things. And then using Riposte at the right time and just having that reaction time as well as prediction and seeing what's coming out. So you have to put in the games.
I also feel there was a tiny bit of confusion about build path on Fiora because I saw an awful lot of Hydra Essence Reaver Fioras like rushing, and I was like, I don't know what the heck is going on here. Whereas from what I've known, the Koreans definitely have been going Hydra into Black Cleaver into defensive MR items to be able to boost that healing. And that seems to be much more successful, even against armor opponents.
Yeah, you need CDR for those breakpoints on your Q so you can continually use it to reposition on people for vital hits.
It's like we're saying that Fiora is a hard champion to master, but we have pro players playing at the World Championship. This is the time to show up with these champions. We cannot make excuses for the pro players. They need to figure out the builds.
And this is where we're seeing it become a benefit to the people that have picked it up. So this, only serves your point, which is that the people who have managed to pick her up, we're seeing the power of it because every time we watch it, we go, what the heck is happening? This champion is so strong.
As soon as Myron ran over that 4v5 in the SKT game, I was just like, what the heck is this champion? And it's so great because if you run it with Gragas Fiora, it's pretty much a Janna in the team fight without having to give up the fact that you have to run a disengaged support. All of a sudden you can run Alistar or Braum with it, grab great engage from your support, and still have that disengaged heal in the team fight phase.
Now, the final set of players that we've talked about briefly, but not very much actually in this matchup, Mako versus Yellowstar. We've talked about the calls of Yellowstar, the fact that he creates advantages for his team and opportunities for his team beyond just taking the ones that are presented to him. I want to look at Mako on the other side of things, playing Thresh again this last game. A player that I feel gets overlooked pretty often on that team, but creates a lot for them.
He's my MVP on the team. It's funny because when I look at Niels and he's a rookie, then I look at Forbidden and he's a rookie, and I hear a lot of this term thrown out. Mako was a rookie. He wasn't even the starting support for their team. He was brought in by Death's request because Death loved playing with him. He was actually a substitute. And this guy just does so much around the map. Like his Thresh plays in game 1, he was saving people left, right, and center, the turret dive, the top lane play. He's just, honestly, he's a playmaker, and he's got like a calm, quiet demeanor, which people overlook and that we value very highly.
Very modest.
Yeah. If you were going to make a rookie team out of the World Championship, you'd throw Niels and Mako in the bottom lane for me, like 100%.
I also think that Mako being the playmaker is a big thing for this team because he's a large part of how they start fights and how they disengage them. And like you look at Yellowstar, he's a great skirmishing player, right? He can start fights, but Mako is very versatile in the disengage portion of it as well. Mako has a really good sense of what fight they can take and which ones they can't take. And I really love that about him. And people are like, oh, he's at the right place at the right time. No. He sees this coming, and he realizes that his players need help. And I feel that's a great instinct to have as a support.
I feel like whenever we're talking about good supports, we're talking about the high.
I got to interrupt because we've been talking for far too long. It's time to send it over to the casters to get us back onto the Rift.
Thank you very much, Dash, and the rest of the analyst desk. As we do get into picks and bans, I do want to take a moment to clarify the situation and where we find ourselves. The issue that appeared in-game prevented Reignover from casting the Gragas Q spell. And the refereeing team, they did investigate and exhaust every single option to resolve the issue in-game, including allowing Gragas to die and attempt to resolve the matter. After the issue remained, Fnatic was then offered the opportunity to remake, which they accepted. That is, as per the rules, the remake will now include new picks and bans because team strategies were revealed, including playstyle. Gragas will remain enabled because of the popularity of the champion on the current patch, but we will state right now, if the bug does reappear, the champion will be disabled for the remainder of the tournament. So that is something just to keep in mind. We can only apologize.
Very rare bug.
It is, and we can only apologize to the teams, to everybody watching. The remake will be starting shortly with picks and bans. So let's shake this off and talk about Mordekaiser and, in my opinion, GP. Do we think teams are going to allow both of these champions to once again go through picks and bans?
Well, I mean, we saw from Fnatic, their bans were Lulu, Kalista, Tahm, Kench. If they want to do that again, I want to see Tahm, Kench, and Kalista being banned first and have that Lulu as the potential bait against EDG. But I also think for EDG, they saw the Gangplank, they saw the kite composition being built by Fnatic, so they knew, or now they know, Fnatic has an answer to the Mordekaiser.
Yeah, and I think that if they did leave the Lulu up, then EDG would have changed their first pick and actually would have first picked the GP instead and not taken the Mordekaiser. You know, Mordekaiser into GP and Lulu is kind of ridiculous.
So, Fnatic...
But there she finds herself on the ban list already.
Yeah, Kennen as well for EDG. They banned Elise and then they banned Sivir last time around. Obviously, that is what left Mordekaiser and GP open, and for now, it is exactly the same. Fnatic now do not want to ban one of the two OPs. Oh, now they will, because Mordekaiser got banned. So now GP is what you want to ban away if you are Fnatic. And say, we don't want to risk it. But that does leave Tahm Kench open.
For Fnatic to potentially pick?
Well, for you. I'm not expecting a Tahm Kench first pick.
Last game was Rek'Sai, first pick, when Elise was off the table.
I mean, Fnatic got to make the decision now. Do we have a composition we want to run against the Gangplank? Then we banned the Tahm Kench now. We gave them first pick.
I don't think you can. Yeah, I don't think you can give away Gangplank without getting one back.
Been super risky, at least. But again, this is a team that is not afraid of taking chances. Rek'Sai would be the obvious first pick. Tahm Kench, yes, he's fantastic. But he does require a composition where it makes sense to pick him into.
Sound like a bit of a fanboy there, Deficio, of that champion. Fnatic now have the option to pick in two of their preferred. Hyper carries are still up and available, the likes of Jinx. Go over the tower pushing power of Tristana. Cannon away. Sivir's available. Fnatic could go Sivir and support.
So are Jinx and Caitlyn, which was also mentioned as being practiced by Deft fairly recently.
If you are Fnatic now, you might say we want to take some safe picks. We don't want to show too much. Then you go for Gragas here for Reyno and say we want to see more of your picks before we start building a composition. Or you take some of the safer top lanes we have seen being blind picked, Darius and Fiora and so on, for Huni up there. But he's shown he wants to play different kinds of top lanes.
And I would like to combo that Gragas with the Thresh if you are trying to try and keep your first round without giving much away. There is the Kenchi. All right, we got the Kench into Flame Chompers combo.
You get your Tom
I'm so
Kench.
happy. The only problem is it's like 3 weeks too late. And
Yeah.
if I go on one of my Kobe rants on Tom Kench, then people just
The thing
get
is,
annoyed.
I stole your
It's
notes
not
anyway,
new.
and I already said everything you had prepared.
But
during the last
everybody
3 weeks.
wants to hear the Kobe rant, so we'll see how practiced Yellow Star is on this champion, because
Hey,
we've seen him.
He played it before it was cool.
but
He
it
played
wasn't
it before
good.
it was buffed.
But it wasn't good.
Okay,
It
that's
really
fair,
was not good.
But
They lost that game.
he now had 4 more weeks or 5 weeks to practice even more. I think Jinx Tom Kench is one of the best combos you can pick because it gives Jinx that extra mobility in the late game that she needs to survive these team fights, and also in the laning phase, it's very hard to all in on a Jinx when Tom Kench is next to her. He basically just makes almost every lane a farm lane because he stops that all in from happening. Could be that.
There's the. Well, I was looking at the Caitlyn already
Yeah.
for the other side here. Picked up by Def. Like we said, he's been practicing it fairly recently. We'll see if they actually end up in that 2 versus 2, because Caitlyn can try and bully them off. Jinx can switch to Rockets, though, and actually trade. So it definitely will be determined by the support pick.
Well, what we have seen so far from teams when they play against Tom Kench, because it's so fairly new, they pick some all-in comps. Like, oh, we're going to play like an Annie Kalista lane, and we're going to try and all-in the AD carry. Tom Kench eats in and says, no, that's not going to happen. Caitlyn, on the other hand, is a lane where you're going to push and push and push all the time. I think that's way better against Tom Kench, because he doesn't offer any sustain for his AD carry outside of Relic Shield. So poke them down, poke them. Don't all in. That's what Caitlyn offers.
And we're going to see the Riven for Huni. Fembevin will secure Gragas once more for Rainover.
Interesting with the top lane carry here into the Fiora. This is going to be such an interesting skill match between Riven and Fiora. Once again, though, I think there may be a lane swap brewing.
I think there's a good chance we see Morgana as well, and us instantly just locked in
So
here.
this is what we were also talking about. When you have Caitlyn going for that siege, you want to combo it with something in the mid lane that really, really supplements the siege. And Veigar, we've already seen it many times by specifically the North American teams putting in a lot of time on that. But Pawn has been practicing it heavily in solo queue, and EDG will try, group up early, knock down the outer turrets, but also, while they're knocking down the outer turrets, fish for that binding, fish for that cage to try and get that pick. And yes, Tom Kench can eat somebody out of a binding, but the cage blocks off a huge zone.
Still, Tom Kench, to me, is a very, very good Veigar counter due to the fact he can remove that one-shot potential from
Volley
happening.
burst.
However, EDG are not looking necessarily to one-shot someone. They're looking to zone you off your tower
Exactly.
and take your tower.
It's about the area
And
that you can control.
You cannot eat the tower. That doesn't work. That doesn't work.
Have you tried?
That was in your notes, Kobe, so I trust you now.
Well, Febevin's got a couple seconds left to lock in his counter. He's had great performances on LeBlanc, and we'll see whether or not he can get some early pressure against Veigar.
Here's the one thing. While I'm a huge Tom Kench fan, he is not the all-in-one tank. He is not a hard engage tank. So it's actually fairly risky for you to try and engage with Tom Kench and use the Abyssal Voyage. It's much better at cutting people off and sort of corralling people into a direction to control with the rest of your team.
This is a very mixed composition for Fnatic.
Yeah.
You got the Riven split push coming in. You want to assassinate someone with LeBlanc, and you want to have these big kiting team fights with the Jinx Tom Kench. So it's a bit of everything for them. The problem is if they want a 1-3-1, Jinx wave play in the mid lane. Again, she needs to get in there with the rockets. She can't clear really far away from.
Yeah, the thing is, I want to reiterate this one more time. It's a bit of everything except for really hard engage. They would have to have Flash with Riven or some crazy Gragas ultimate, because if Tom Kench Abyssal Voyage into the back line, he gets stunned with whoever he brings.
And he wants to be in the back with his AD carry.
Exactly. If you put up the cage, you can stun them both. He can't save anyone if he's stunned as well. He has to get his own Merc Treads. He has to get some sort of QSS or McHale's or something to pull that off.
Luckily, on the side of Fnatic, they have shown a penchant for engaging at the right time in the right place, and they'll need to keep that up. Guys, this is the remade game 2 of this best of 5. Hashtag EDG win with that Veigar mid, or hashtag FNC win. The Yellow Star will get his hands on the Tom Kench. Vision and flanking going to be so important for Fnatic. They've done it in the past when Huni has played Riven. They've shown they have an ability to get him to TP into the jungle and hop over walls. They may need to do that again to get behind that baby cage that Vaga can put down.
Yeah, the early game is so key in this matchup. When you have a siege composition, if they do well in the laning phase and get to rotate the AD carry into mid and start this siege on your tower, there's often very few answers other than like a TP flank happening. If that fails, you fall so far behind. But the same can be said for EDG here with their comp. If they start losing lanes to Riven and LeBlanc, the crazy pick potential for Fnatic can just run over them.
And this is the thing, Jinx can take a turret very quickly, so Fnatic can trade objectives fairly efficiently as well. Face checking here.
This is
Get
risky.
the deep wards they've been seen coming in.
And Fnatic did a similar thing in the previous game. EDG have adapted.
They're going to get Reckless and Yellow Star.
Oh, it's got to pay off.
Tremor Sense is showing 2 members of Fnatic nearby. EDG very patient.
They saw the ping on 2 guys with the Rek'Sai, so they know it's not 5 members running from Fnatic, but EDG is still
A brush with death there.
not going to pull the trigger.
And they escape.
Fnatic get
Maybe they
deep
I don't
wards
know.
down. They know the wards are in place, so EDG,
I want to shout out to my boy Freak.
are they going to look for the lane swap, or will they use the warning information to dance around?
Okay,
the vision?
so basically, yeah, as you just said here, they want to dance around where the wards are being placed. It's often the same ward placement you see when these invades happen. 3 of them down to block every entrance towards the lane, so Fnatic didn't spot them. Sneak up there, but so it's going to be a 2v2 top. Huni gets his one-on-one down bottom lane as well, so we have these insanely snowballing matchups between a Fiora and a Riven, where the first gank can basically decide the entire early to mid game between these 2 guys.
Meanwhile, look at this huge advantage here. Tahm Kench absolutely annihilates Krugs there with the giant AoE, and they're going to be a camp up. Caitlyn likes to start shoving the wave, though. So Def tried to get there as soon as possible, auto-attacking the wave. You charge up your headshot. Every time, obviously, your headshot is charged up. Look for your harass trade. Mako lands the first binding, but Yellow Star says, nope.
We're going to see that a lot, I feel.
Yes. Def and Mako are more looking just to poke with the double range against them than all-inning. What you normally could do with Caitlyn Morgana is you land the binding, follow up with a trap, and someone is stuck for such a long time. Another small thing, notice here Reynova, he started on top side of the map, so he's going to path down towards the bottom side. That's going to apply pressure on Koro if he's going to push his lane.
Yep, it's all about that minion wave control up top. When you have control as a Caitlyn lane, especially with Morgana at your back, you can be extremely aggressive, just like Huni.
Really bad trade by Koro right here. He walks in into stun range of Huni, then uses his block basically for nothing. It's an instant ability, obviously, for Huni with the stun. You have to be super quick on a Fiora.
Exactly.
Close to impossible for him to pull off here, and he really failed the big time.
Koro's backed, picked up some wards, and a pot is now under CS from Huni, but the wave is pushing towards Koro, so Huni going to be needing to overextend. But luckily, Clearlove is on the complete opposite end of the map.
Yeah, even though that trade evens up teleports, Huni's got such an experience advantage here working with it. He will also probably be able to go up and clear out that pink ward that Koro placed in the tri-bush. So that, while the giant wave is there, so that would be some extra value added. Pretty deep ward here on the Wraith camp as well. Clearlove was able to get a little bit of deep vision over on Reignover's side, and that will be the next camp that Reignover goes to. So EDG will have information on Reignover's whereabouts fairly shortly.
Well, we get a good start for Huni in the bottom lane. Top, again, is what we mentioned, how you can keep pushing it in. If you are the Caitlyn Morgana lane, just keep trading. 2v1 against both Tahm Kench and then the Jinx, and it's hard then to reply if you are Fnatic. And really also with this Morgana pick, it's funny because a lot of these champions for EDG that haven't shown before in this tournament, they have been spamming them in solo queue. Morgana was there for Mako, Caitlyn for Def, Veigar as well in the mid lane, and this is going to happen over and over. And Rek is a little bit confused.
Small miss. Aim small, miss small. We'll see if Reckless can find his aim later on. Reynova spotting Clearlove in the jungle will give some information. Huni actually is caught up by that riposte.
Another matchup I want to touch on is that mid lane because Veigar is such a game changer. If you allow him to stack up early, and the only way to disallow him from stacking up early is to force him to trade in lane and go for those aggressive moves here. Fabibin on LeBlanc, on the Assassin, has the ability to do that and try and go aggressively. You can see already, Pawn even expends his early teleport in mid lane defensively just to pick up more magic resistance. so that he can try and use more of his mana for stacking up the ability power.
Reckless is playing Let's Catch the Dark Binding game. Almost every time we peek our eyes up here, Reckless is being saved by Yellow Star. That mana pool slowly burning away. And of course, Reckless losing out on CS. Huni is now once again going aggressive. Trying to use those broken wings to his advantage. And Koro sidesteps the second. Proc does not sidestep the third. The shield comes up from Huni, and the key strike will at least delay the rest of that trade.
Fnatic needs to do something about the top lane, though. Even though they're not dying, they're down in CS, and their tower is already taking about 40% damage up there, because, again, EDG keep pushing it down. Huni's trying his best on the bottom side, but Clearlove is showing now.
Yeah, you say that, though, but as a jungler, it's really difficult to gank a heavy poking lane that's got your lane under turret because of the minion advantage and because of the distance that you have to gain. Meanwhile, when solo laners trade like this, there's blood in the water. Junglers are like sharks.
Sure.
You're attracted very heavily by melee champions in long solo lanes trading like this.
And I don't think Fnatic necessarily had to go top to make a play. I think they need to make a play elsewhere on the map to force EDG's hand and say, we are now winning on the other side, so if you keep this 2v2 lane going for too long, our top laner will snowball ahead of yours, and that can force EDG then to make a trade and swap it around and stop this push from going on.
Clearlove's Tremor Sense just caught some footsteps from Rainover as he approached that tri-bush. So information is available. You can see Feathervin's also left his lane. If Chorus sticks around, they're going for a dive.
And this is what I like. Now Fnatic are saying, we're going to snowball Huni even further. So EDG, you cannot just sit in 2v2 top, because your top lane will fall behind. Clearlove has spotted it. We have a roam from Vega as well. 3 guys on bottom side soon.
Koro, he does have his grand challenge. He's used it on a level 4 Rainover. Flash away from Koro keeps him alive. Huni will take a turret shot for his troubles. Clearlove able to thwart the gank at the cost of Ignite for Flash and time in the mid lane from Feathervin.
Yeah, and now Hunia here is actually going to have to back off. He's got 3 people there. Even though that was an unsuccessful gank as far as coming up with a kill, Koro's going to have to expend his teleport once again. So you talk about, doing something about this top side. There's a deep ward here in the brush. Huni may have teleport advantage if Koro feels pressured enough to use it to get back to lane again. And the way the Fnatic, made their stamp, made their name with big Huni teleport plays, there could be an opportunity. The ward is expired.
Just died.
I took too long talking about it, and Koro took too long teleporting back to
The point
base.
is still valid.
Really key though
If they could get another ward.
for EDG that Rek'Sai was sitting in that bush or in the jungle of Fnatic, spotted, of course, Rainover moving down, so they knew, okay, the dive is about to happen, LeBlanco's missing in the mid lane, and that's why they could react and defend Koro. Otherwise, it would have been a 3v1 and he would have died super quick.
I have to say, though, this top lane CS of the duo lanes is just outstanding. Deft is destroying Reckless and Yellow Star up in the top side. Really punishing.
And this was why EDG was sitting in the bush, hiding at level 1. Didn't want to risk going for an all lane and try and get it first, but they wanted to dodge around the wards to try and force a 2v2 lane with Caitlyn. She's one of these champions, if she doesn't get the 2v2, gets to be bullied. She becomes so useless in the mid game and just have very low impact before she hits the late game items. So this was exactly what EDG wanted for that lane.
And EDG seem quite happy to play for the long game. Pawn's first pickup is Mercury Treads at 9 minutes. He's held onto his TP, but Rainover, he's found Mako. Mako, this is brave. Abyssal Voyage will allow Yellow Star to get in range of Mako. Will they flash over? No. Happy to get the flash out of Morgana.
Okay, so while EDG are winning the duo lane, Fnatic are destroying the solo lane on the other side of the map, the long lane with Huni here. And that is extremely volatile because Riven has so much kill pressure. I would expect, again, more jungler attention down there, because if you can free up that solo laner, then you free up a teleport gank. A jungler ganking is one thing, but if that solo laner ganking with a teleport can completely turn around and destroy a 2 versus 2 lane.
It's basically been the reason their aggressive 2v2 lanes have kind of died out, because if you do go all in, enemy top laner comes in from behind and kills you, and it suddenly backfires completely because of all the teleports in the game. There's a lot of very aggressive AD carries that are a little bit unhappy with that state because they want to be able to kill their lane 2v2, but that's not happening very often in this meta.
Fnatic right now setting up towards this bottom lane. Again, Feathervin and Rainover showing face. Huni's got a minion wave to play with, and I think they're going to turn their attention onto Koro. He's going to be in a little bit of trouble. Grand Challenge comes down, Body Slam connects. Koro will get dropped, and it's first blood to Fnatic. But Pawn will teleport in and get himself one back. Huni's on the way out. Will have that broken wing slash to get more. Huni does get dropped by Clearlove. It's a messy fight so far. 2 for 2, and it's jungler on mid lane action. Gets a triple kill. Gets out.
Again, Fnatic, they return to the point of power, try and make the proactive play there. And again, Huni teleports up. Look, a deep ward in the side crush. Huni revives in 10 seconds. He could teleport right up there and try and turn that around. There's no flash on Morgana because they caught her out in the jungle.
And again, this is exactly what Fnatic wants to do. When you have a losing lane one side of the map, you gotta make plays on the other side. You can't gank the one. They go for Koro, 3 guys moving down. EDG, once again, they read the situation, but they're reacting a lot later because they didn't see Fnatic as early as they did before with the first dive. Featherman plays one really well. He knows he can take down Clearlove in the end, so stays very close and almost baits him to just stay and fight him.
Man,
so
away
the last
for a
auto.
jungler, that's not fair.
Managed to make it work. Featherman completes his Sorcerer Shoes and Morella Nomicon. 30 CS advantage for Huni and a level advantage, but no teleport top just yet.
With the deep wards here as well by Fabivin. This one on the red. It's one of the great things about Tahm Kench as well. My first experience with them was meeting one in solo queue and double counter jungling the enemy. Tahm Kench can devour something while activating his Q. Oh, here we go for another move.
Maybe just a farm and defend tower.
Do they have a Huni teleport? There's so many wards for Huni to teleport on. And he shoved them in. Looks like they're going to dive first.
Seems to me like Huni doesn't want to waste time.
They're going to dive bottom. The dive bottom again first.
He's going for Koro. He's in trouble. The chain. Wow.
Okay, now he's free to go up top.
Okay, 3 times now. When is he going to up, Kobe?
I don't know. My stories have all fallen flat today. I'm not kidding.
To be fair, if you are Huni and Fnatic, do you want to go and try and save a losing lane already?
Yeah,
or do you want to just keep killing
Look at them.
your lane opponent?
They're going to get dove right now.
Well, they can just back away, give up this tower. Obviously, EDG is looking to swap Def now down to the bottom side and push another one. But that's where Fnatic are looking out to create picks with the Rivet, with the LeBlanc. We see how much they're roaming between the lanes. And every time EDG is stuck pushing a wave with both Morgana and Caitlyn, someone else on the map is dying. So far, it's been Coral.
Yeah. Little misstep from Pawn as he misses 2 of the 4.
So in the end, the real difference there is just the kills that our Fnatic are picking up here, because they were able to get that turret on top for EDG. It's just that, Huni's actually going to get the one down bottom and continue to push here. They also have such deep wards in the red side jungle to support Huni's split push.
That could be key, Kobe, because Huni, once he goes top side now, can TP down, because we know Deft is going to push this wave. He's already pinged the tower.
So when you say it, it's going to happen.
I say it this time. So many wards
always has to be right. Featherman's looking to clear this pink ward out, and Clearlove is just like, peace, nope, do not want none of that. Huni grabs a Scuttle Crab, a little bit of vision, and Reckless and Yellow Star uncontested. This is a free tower, in fact, as EDG have sent their resources down bottom.
Not exactly what EDG were looking for here. They wanted to have Koro on his top side already, but obviously him alone wouldn't have done a whole lot.
Yeah, it's another trade they're just opting for. Bottom side should be taken at the same time as well here for EDG.
But when you play that Caitlyn, you are supposed to get the tower advantage by you being able to push faster than they, or push in the enemy AD carry and slowly take down the tower. Obviously, Jinx will take down the tower super quick once she gets to it.
Yeah, but they're not done pushing. EDG continue to pressure the inner turret. There are recalls from Fnatic.
Yellowstar can ult it down, remember.
And Huni's got teleport with a lot of wards to jump in. But they're opting not to pull that trigger yet. The range in Abyssal is still relatively low, and I think Yellowstar's peeling towards the middle top quadrant, so no more pressure on the bottom half.
EDG did get the 2 side lane turrets down. That's what you want to do with these siege comps here, especially when you play the Veigar. You want him to hit level 11, you group together with him in the mid lane, and you start sieging on that tower, because even if there is some sort of wave clear for Fnatic, that massive zone that Vega is going to offer is going to force you back, and that's going to always give some damage to this tower. So Fever needs to be careful now. He knows a lot of people are coming, and he's the only wave in his mid lane. He has to dash into them. That's super risky.
Yeah, that's why we'll be looking for the flank, because again, this Fnatic squad has to be very careful with how they go about engaging. Huni needs to work with the fog of war. Riven is all about the flashy plays, you know, coming in very quickly with the dash. So once Huni's flash comes back up, then maybe they'll look for one of those plays.
At least you need to have teleport ready, and when you know the siege is going to start happening, you need to have put wards in advance. So you have wards on the side of the mid lane. You can see the 2 here near the mid lane tower of EDG. That's something Fnatic could use to stop a potential siege from happening. And Huni, all in again, he's 2 levels above.
Yeah, big difference. That Bee of Sword helping out. I think got a pretty good riposte there, but it doesn't matter. Huni's got such a strong advantage. Just hit a 3-level lead for the time being, and as my math is completely horrible, it's 50, 60 CS advantage for Huni. And Reckless is even caught up in the bottom lane.
All right, well, let's see if he plays a bit more safe here. Definitely into his third. He should be fine. The other important factor in controlling vision, Deficio, that you point out, these mid laners, either one could one-shot the other if you're in the fog of war. So either one has the ability to 100% if you get that vision advantage. So there's going to be such a fight over the true sight, especially around these mid
And a
lanes.
fighting top again.
Cora's going low. Huni, that's a good fast trading. And Huni follows up. But they support Clear 11 Pawn, want to chase him down, and they will not.
A little bit hyped about the flash. In the end, it didn't do anything, and it died anyway. Look good though.
Deficio, you sucked all the energy out. Yellowstar and Febervin get caught by the Event Horizon, and Pawn gets knocked into the waiting hands. The Super Mega Death Rocket signs his death warrant, and EDG are on the retreat. They've lost 2. They're mid-tower, and Fnatic are sieging the inner turret. It's not over yet. Teleport's coming in. Goro wants to play. The exhaust onto Febervin will keep his damage down and keep Deft alive, and keep their tower alive for Boots.
So what's been happening in this mid lane here for Fnatic is that Febervin had full control of the lane. He keeps pushing it down, making it very easy for Fnatic to keep deep vision in the jungle and set up a dive like this and prevent EDG from ever grouping.
Honestly, what's happening is Huni wrecking Koro.
That's also happening. That's also happening. But look at the dive they can set up because they have all the control of this jungle onto. Beautiful setup, honestly, from Rain over him.
Yeah.
What do you do as a Veigar right here? Either you flash instantly, but it's a flash body slam happening. It's so hard to react to in time.
Yeah.
Exhausted, and I don't think that Primordial Burst hit anybody either. So
Make it a
Fnatic,
body slam flash.
3,000 gold in the lead. They've got all outer turrets down. Dragon's going to be up in 30 seconds. And look at that ring of deep vision behind the Dragon.
Yeah, again, that's the problem now for EDG. They know these wards are going to be there because they've been pushed down in this mid lane for such a long time. Huni can now TP in behind them if Fnatic wants to fight for this one. He's TPing in now.
And he's TPing north.
Finally!
EDG are trying to retreat. Huni wants to cut them off.
Gotta be careful.
He's not very tanky.
flash.
He does not want to be here. Grand Challenge is onto Huni, and Deft actually gets knocked towards him. Huni's going to use those broken wings to get away, and he gets eaten. Yellow Star saves him. Another kill for Febervin before Huni gets dropped by Goro. Rainover's trying to get out, but he's trapped in the baby cage, and Pawn sends him back to base. Well, Febervin is dominating with another kill on Goro.
Yellow Star saved Huni, but then kept chasing Koro and spit Huni back out with like 50 life. So he died. But that'll be a 2 for 2 right there. All said and done, though, Fnatic still have control of the map. So even though it's a 2 for 2, even on kills, they get the objective afterwards. They shove the lane. Oh, actually, Reckless actually not going to start the Dragon there. Red Steel instead. Bit more risky.
Or
and
not.
now the Dragon's going to be very late, and Pawn does have teleport. Pawn's actually in lane already.
Deft actually manages to secure that one. Fnatic now a little maybe late to the Dragon. Ultimate's not available for everybody, but EDG are not in range to contest.
There's double ping wards for Fnatic, so it's hard for EDG to walk in and face check a fairly fed LeBlanc at this point. I mean, 6 kills in 19 minutes. It's very standard for me, at least, in solo queue. What we do see from
Deficio
Fnatic,
special.
Oh, stay hungry, stay humble, my friend. Yellow Star is going to prevent the ace in the hole by just devouring Febervin.
Why block it when you can eat it?
Deft will knock over the tower using that range of Caitlyn.
Yeah, and this time around, no TP for Fnatic to stop the siege. But this is how you play against these siege compositions when you know it's going to happen. You need those wards beforehand, like Fnatic has here. Huni goes in a little bit early, and because there's no hard engage for Fnatic, it's very difficult for him, and he just gets saved at first.
Let's watch what actually. He spits him back out with a 50 HP. Yellow's not there. Thanks for the save.
They didn't even have time to shield right.
Shame.
Whoa, LeBlanc killed Caitlyn. Talking about Fabib, he's got 7 now.
So, ouch. Deft 0.
Now it's bad.
Tell us, Depisho, what exactly happened there. Give us the QW.
I think there was some QW,
QWR
maybe some
dead.
R in there.
Wow, Reno was gonna find clear love. Defensive flash. Huni actually popped that ultimate. Didn't manage to follow through because Maiko found the Dark Binding. And Fnatic are now just playing really free and loose. They've got the freedom, they're far enough ahead, and there's not a lot of resistance that can come up yet.
And I think with the momentum they have, with the amount of control that they've just gotten, this huge lead that Fnatic are building, they need to fortify that. They need to start getting up that vision now. Because if they close the loop on the vision and they black out the map here for EDG, then there's just almost no move for EDG. They have to just... and he burns to death. They have to just group up. EDG, this is a team that has to group up and try and use the poking, try and use the bindings and cage to land.
And it's supposed to be fairly safe to get the outer turrets down. You know, you can have pink wards in the river yourself to try and avoid some of these deep wards that can flank you. Going for the tier 2 turrets becomes even harder now for EDG because they don't have the map control, because they are pretty far behind in gold. So they might rely more on Fnatic, misplaying a pick here, like Fibban goes too aggressive and dives on the tower and dies, and then EDG starts moving up towards the tier 2 towers.
Well, it's about 1 minute and 10 seconds before Huni's teleport is available, and the deep wards will need to be reset before Fnatic can look for a similar play.
This is often where we see teams lose their big leads, when you have a team comp similar to this. What Fnatic need to do, all they have to do is keep EDG bottled up for long enough. They already have dragon stacking. They have 2 dragons already. Control the neutral objectives, and you continue to draw EDG out. Continue to make these picks. Continue to get the LeBlanc 100% to 0. Continue to get Huni isolated with Koro.
4 level difference between Koro and Huni right now. And nearly 100 CS. I believe that's called the Flame Horizon, if memory serves.
Yes, sir. Now, one of the things amazing Jay, the poor guy, was criticized for a lot, was dying like this against the enemy top laner. But funny enough, it's the same kind of setup, where the other team is sending 2, 3, 4 guys to dive him and kill him and shut him down, because top lane gets out of control very, very easily. You see here, EDG tried to defend Koro, but they were always a step behind, and therefore it's the same result. Top laner falls super far behind.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a which one came first, because he is also the reason Fnatic are sending people to dive him, is because he's losing trades to Huni in lane, and Huni's pushing him under turret and prepping him to get destroyed.
What Fnatic also wants to do now, though, is prepping that Baron, because as a poke comp, if you have to face check in towards the Baron, you really hate it. Yellowstar, he's eating clear love.
He is, but his Grey health is being burned through. The barrel pulls Maiko backwards, and a big AoE. Maiko's been tagged, and a quiet taste will not even be needed. Get excited with Reckless, and Featherbin cleans up. Fnatic find 3, and in a turret, and they can even go for Baron.
Fnatic just stayed around the Baron, then walked into the jungle, and EDG is trying to get control back. But when there's so many things that can just kill you so easily, and so much mobility on the side of Fnatic with Riven, LeBlanc, and even the top Kendrick can just walk in and eat you and spit you back. It is so difficult to regain that control. You were a siege comp. You were supposed to get a big tower advantage, and you got nothing.
All right, we'll take another look at it. You catch the catch. He's got 2 health bars here. So Grey health goes up, and teleports come down. Fawn actually uses everything on the outside here. Forbidden just walks around, and all of Fnatic teleport in. They continue the pain train and crush EDG under the turret and take it afterwards as well. All right, now we have a minute.
What a game from Fnatic. They've got Baron now. Every single one of their lanes is winning, despite the trouble that Reckless and Yellowstar had early. They were able to put pressure on the side lanes, and they've got him relevant.
Well, if you have a losing 2v2 lane, Morgana Caitlyn, pretty hard to gank. why not just go down and kill the Fiora over and over? You have Riven.
Well, when you put it that way.
I mean, come on, that's how the game is, right? You just go kill someone.
Split pushing with Baron buff taking effect here. Huge 10,000 almost gold lead here for Fnatic.
So, we have seen 3 new picks from Def today. And I just have to say, the Jace, I didn't see anything I liked. He did nothing in that game. The Mordekaiser, his dragon control was terrible. I'll give him 1 out of 10 for that one as well.
Harsh.
So far, the Caitlyn, he did his job on the Caitlyn. To be fair, he pushed in the wave over and over. He got the tower.
So the champion you were the most excited about in terms of his solo queue prep this week is the one you're giving the highest ratings? Out of 10? What do we think?
I mean, he couldn't really do much else, right? But he gets a 5 out of 10 for that one.
Okay, 5 out of 10 for
He gets
Caitlyn.
5 out of 10?
He took
Now,
2 towers down. His team is losing.
Huni has still got that 4-level advantage and pushing the bottom lane, gentlemen, while the rest of Fnatic are pushing the middle lane. I'd like to get the scoreboard here for Huni in a moment as Koro's got some help from Clearlove, but Febiven's joined the fight. He's taken down the tower and is looking to kill Koro once more. The rest of Fnatic are going to focus down the inhibitor as Reignover gets caught up by a Dark Binding. Not going to be enough as the Wind Slash hits pretty high health targets. Not going to secure the kill. Reckless has got the tower in the mid lane. Inhibitor falls bottom. The base is breaking and there's nothing EDG can do. One hit forces Def to retreat. The Event Horizon comes down and the Christmas presents look to be Fnatic's as they are going to take a second inhibitor and get themselves out unscathed.
All due to the Tom Kench. Isn't that right, Kobe?
Actually, it's all due to Riven. I said every time we see Riven's in the game.
So,
if that champion is in the game, go gank her.
Hey.
She's going to snowball one way or the other.
Huni had an okay start to the game, sure. But Febiven, to me, really is the standout guy. First game as well, he had such a good performance. This one, he's roaming from the mid lane, he's pushing it down 24/7, walks down bottom lane, he's part of every single kill, basically. Fnatic is getting except for 2 kills, I just noticed, but he's been part of almost everything else. And this guy is on fire this tournament. I would even say he's been the best performing mid laner in this tournament alone. Not saying he's the best in the world, but in this tournament he's been looking fantastic.
Don't step on my territory there, Deficio.
Do you want to say
work at the moment? And as you mentioned, allowing Fnatic to continue pressing their advantage. Baron has worn off, and Fnatic are just grouping in the top lane. It is just a matter of time before they get to their 3rd and final inhibitor. There's been no reservation, no hesitation, no signs of weakness for Fnatic this game.
double pink?
There's a sign of weakness.
Yep, there we go, little mistake. Just wanted to test the strength of that baby cage. Febiven's going to eat the Primordial Burst and lose a major chunk of his hit points. But he does stay alive. Huni's going to pull enough threat to buy some time. The rest of Fnatic to at least look to take this tower down in what is still a 4 versus 5.
Yeah, I mean, Febiven's not running teleport on LeBlanc, so Fnatic going to take it fairly slow and easy here. 4 versus 5.
Oh wow, Yellowstar even pulls him out of the stun.
Just look at how Yellowstar's standing here. Whenever Reckless goes in to hit the tower, Yellowstar's slightly behind him. So when the stun lands, it's only on Reckless, and then eats him, spits him out.
And what did I even say? He's got a Quicksilver Sash on Tom Kench as well. So even if you land the double cage, Yellowstar can still get himself out and save whoever's next on.
Well, we'll find out if Tom Kench manages to make it through the rest of Picks and Bans. Def gets caught out. The Event Horizon will not be enough to kill Reignover, and Def is running away. A 3-man stun. Huni's not able to push EDG back. The tower falls, so does Koro. Inhibitor number 3 is down. Fnatic have super minions looking towards the Nexus turrets, and they will drop the Nexus turrets. Fnatic rebound after a difficult start, and they will crush Edward Gaming. Nexus turret is a matter of time as Fnatic take the lead 2-0 and are 1 game away from a semi-final and a top 4 minimum at Worlds.
So EDG showed a new strategy trying to run a siege composition. I would like to hear the analyst desk talk, especially Spawn, about this one, because I remember when EDG came into MSI, we were watching some of their games, and when they tried to run like siege comps, it often didn't work for them at all. they never really had enough control on the map and would just get killed and get into big team fights. They tried to do it now. Obviously, we're talking 4 or 5 months later. Same result, though, mainly due to the fact that Fnatic would snowball that bottom lane so effectively, setting up Huni to jump in and flank, and then Fibin to just kill everyone. Everyone.
Telling you, go for the lane with the ribbon in it.
Kobe, you are so heartbroken.
I've had a lot of times in my life where I've had solo queue games be determined by a ribbon. Even me and you in Korean solo queue. But
I died 5 times.
But also, Fnatic, I mean, just the statement here, after that long sort of slow pause game, to come out and absolutely take game 2 in such a commanding manner. Going into game 3, they have such a mental edge over EDG right now. EDG have to come up with something else.
Yeah.
They've struck out twice with 2 different strategies, maybe even 3 if you count the
I think we should.
remake, yeah.
It looked to me like EDG did not want to play that same comp as they did in the game 2, basically. That didn't happen because they banned Mordekaiser.
Yeah, exactly.
They're like, we don't want to make
They're
the
like,
same trade.
whoa.
They're like, let's just ban it this time and get rid of these super strong champions and then run a more standard composition.
And it looked way worse. Fnatic, they go back to a little bit more of maybe a spring, a la early summer style. Early ganks, early pressure, and just basically solo carry by finding kills in different places.
It's what they've been doing here at Worlds. They
Yep.
play so much around Huni's lane, and it worked in this game.
Early game strengths of Fnatic shining through. We're about to find out what Dash and the analyst desk have to say about that dominant Fnatic victory.
Thank you very much. Quick shot. Deficio there wanted to hear your thoughts, Spawn. So I'm going to come to you first. After what we saw in the remade game in terms of pick bans, entirely new stuff came out. And EDG going for this Siege comp.
Yeah, and, historically is 100% correct that they struggled with this, and then they had one composition that they could make work, and this is why I actually thought it would work, and that was their Azir Jinx composition. And this is a very similar feeling, right? You've got a Viger and you've got a Caitlyn, and this is why I actually really like this game out of Fnatic, because when you look at this on paper, if you were going to take 2 teams that had no names and put the team comps side by side on paper, you say EDG outpicked the heck out of this guy, because what they did is they made them tunnel and Tahm Kench, which says that there is no engage coming in, and then they know that Huni plays non-engaged top laners like the Riven. Honestly, Fnatic had one win condition, and that was snowball their top laner. The credit that you have to give to Fnatic is that this team is that damn good at the game that they had one win condition, and they completely blew EDG out of the water. That was a very one-sided affair.
I think the question...
Hold on, just EDG on your screen. Looking, a little down in the dumps here. Down 0-2 is not the way they wanted to start this series. Back to you, Yamada.
I think the question that comes to mind when you think of the win conditions, I was saying before that I cannot see what is good against Fiora, but with the Riven pick coming in, how good is it actually against Fiora? We see that Huni has experience with the Riven, he has experience with the Fiora, and is playing this matchup up like really well. So the question is, in the future, will Riven bans come in if Koro still wants to play this Fiora? That is the question to me. Because if Riven is really good against Fiora, that is a proper win condition to play by.
And interestingly, just a statistic on Huni's picks, this is the first time at Worlds that he's played a champion. He has played Yasuo, Darius, Hecarim, Gnar, Echo, J4, Riven, and now Riven again. So a very diverse champion pool there.
His Riven, he gets to make flashy plays on it. Both times he's come up really huge on it. I think that's a really great champion to put him on. And you get this split push and skirmish style that we've been seeing from Fnatic and has been prevalent in their statistics. But also, not only did they get Huni massively far ahead and he hit break points like level 2 ultimate, level 3 ultimate way before Koro did. I don't think Koro even got rank 3 ultimate in this game. You also had Febivin. He came down. He was a big beneficiary of this fight. He ends up getting a triple kill off of roaming to help the Riven. So even though you're getting this Huni ahead, you're getting him levels, you're getting him a CS advantage because he's manipulating the wave after this point with pressure, Febivin is hitting item breakpoints where now Veigar and Caitlyn have to watch out for themselves immensely. And the retaliation, this is where I disagree with you, Spawn, about losing in pick ban, because you still have a win condition that you can play to, even though, like that, in my opinion, that is not losing pick ban. That is still having a strategy that you can play towards, and I completely disagree, because Tahm Kench shuts down what they wanted to do with the pick.
Well, let me let Spawn. Hold up. Everyone, let me direct Spawn first.
How does Tahm Kench stop a turret siege?
Tahm Kench stops the engage and somebody getting blown up. This is a one-trick blow-up.
So no, it's not a one-trick blow-up comp. This comp is drop the Veigar ultimate on top of the turret, and they cannot wave clear
and you
successfully.
throw out Jinx traps, and you go ahead and you zone with the Jinx as well. You have this range.
Hold up.
They have no wave clear. They have no wave clear. So the way Veigar ultimate works is if you actually put it on your backline minion wave, no one can clear that wave because the only way LeBlanc can do it is throw herself into the cage, and Jinx can't actually get close enough because of the zoning tools of the Veigar and of a Morgana. This was 100% a siege comp against a comp that ran absolutely zero wave clear. There is no way that you can actually say in an even matchup up until like 40 points in the game, they had a win condition apart from split push with the Riven. And that is where they got ahead.
Now, hold up. Again, hold up, please. I want to go to Yamato now to get another person's take on this.
It's like, in reality, what it is, I think it's a reverse of what we saw in the game that was, of course, remade. It is just a question of, I agree with Spawn, and I also agree with you, because the early game is in favor of Fnatic simply because of the LeBlanc and the Riven, but the top lane matchup, which was the bot lane matchup, is weaker. But if they cannot play on this pressure that they gain from these strong matchups, of course they're going to end up in a situation where EDG can siege, and that is a situation where Fnatic can't respond. But in reality, Fnatic also have a clear win condition with two stronger lanes. So I agree with both of you.
Okay, now I want to come back to you, Zyrene.
But if you agree with both of us, it means it wasn't a losing champion select for either team.
Yeah, I think it was a good draft.
Yeah, no, I think it is a very good draft. What I'm trying to say is one team comp is much harder to execute on. So when you go into a pick ban phase, right, you do not say that unless this lane gets significantly ahead by 15 minutes in the game, we lose this game. That, to me, is a horrible way to bet. As a coach, I would shudder to think that Daylor went into this game and said, if we do not snowball a lane that has lost 2 games in a row by 15 minutes, we will lose this game. That, to me, is just a bizarre curveball to throw, but they threw it and it ended up winning. What I'm trying to say is that equal time, these teams are always in the favor of the zone control.
The argument is that the win condition can't come from we need to be ahead by X amount of gold.
By
the win
X
condition is in an even state, right?
Yeah.
Which of these teams is going to perform better against the other?
But that's a stylistic difference when you're looking at it, because as a coach, I could say, I want to pick a matchup that we're going to give a lot of resources to, try to snowball it, and that's a win condition there. If your win condition is to make it so that you have one person who's ahead and you're like, I can't bet on that, then can I bet on anything in the game at all? I feel like that's something because it's never going to be at an even state 100% of the time.
I see as well, like, when you think of a pick and ban, it has to work in theory. And the question comes into mind is consistency. I understand that there's a certain risk coming into the draft with the Riven, but in reality, the real question is how good is Riven against Fiora? Because if this matchup is very, like, one-sided, as we saw, this is the first time I see this matchup being played in a tournament, then the strategy makes sense because you just play on the fact that Riven's going to win on that matchup.
I want to bring it full circle now, back to the teams at hand and how this can affect the series moving forward. We have seen an example of Riven getting extraordinarily far ahead of Fiora. However, we've made the claim that if that doesn't happen, EDG would have been in an advantageous position. Yeah. So what needs to then change on EDG's side in order to not allow that lead to be created by Fnatic and put themselves in a position 5-10 minutes later in the game where they can set up that siege?
So one thing EDG did really well game one, which they didn't do this game, was maintaining double pink wards on top lane. I actually feel like this, if you go back and watch a replay, and teams will do this, with carry top laners like that they're going to either run into Smeb and they'll run into Myron at some point if they're able to get through some of these or someday. That double pink ward in top lane actually made Huni play the lane very differently to how Huni normally plays. So I think if they can go back to that, cheat towards bottom side of the map and maintain the double pink wards, it will actually help them out.
No, I was just going to say I agree. Go ahead, Yamato.
I feel like the thing is what allowed them to get these pink wards was the fact that Fiora was in a stronger matchup in this particular game. He was being against this Jarvan, and in the case of Riven, she's very strong. I feel the solution is put her in a lane swap, make sure she's behind in the game. Then she's not going to impact the game as much, only the lane phase, because she's always strong.
I was talking about Huni in general, not the Riven matchup. I just think Huni in general needs to be affected mentally because his skills on Summoner's Rift are way too good.
Well, compelling stuff. Fnatic is just one win away from advancing to next week's semifinals in Brussels. We'll take a look at match point right after this.
It is game 2 of Fnatic versus EDG. It's a messy fight so far. 2 for 2. And it's jungler on mid lane action. That's a triple kill. Hooney's going to use those broken wings to get away. And he gets eaten. Yellow Star saves him. Another kill for Featherfin. Big AoE. Mako's been tagged. And a quiet taste will not even be needed. Get excited with Reckless is running away. A 3-man stun. Hooney's not able to push EDG back. Fnatic crush Edward Gaming.